Hello, everybody, and thank you all for joining me again today here on Hessens County for another TTRPG Talk. This video series takes a look at tabletop role-playing games and related materials, makes suggestions about some of your own systems and materials, and takes a look at some of my own. Today we're going to be, again, taking a look at some of my own. This is going to be a bit of a continuation of the video that I had made previously, where I was looking at a game that I was creating in order to sort of take a look at and explain a bit of my creative process. And I wanted to kind of add a bit more to that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at the same game that we did last time. This is Bannerships of the 10,000 Stars. Again, this is a grand strategy sort of sci-fi game where your primary actor that you as the player are acting through is not an individual character, although we do have those in this game, but rather is your banner, which is sort of an abstract way to look at a unit that is under your command, whether that is an individual ship, whether that is a little ship or a big ship or a fleet or something even bigger than that, like so large task force of ships. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you could potentially scale this to the point of being basically almost with like each individual character role playing out the actions that take place within their own theater of an organization or military or something. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be military focused. It is sort of written so that you could use this to play out large strategic battles, like along the lines of what you see in like the Legends of the Galactic Heroes or something along those lines. Basically like epic society shaping conflict, right? But also this could be a migratory fleet. Think like your stellar nomads, right? Just and you're each playing, maybe you're each individually playing the spokesperson or leader of individual ships inside of this migratory fleet that's all traveling together throughout the galaxy, doing various things in different places, whether you're trading or gathering resources or stuff like that. Those are all different things that you could potentially incorporate into this system. Again, this system is primarily built on the XD6 SRD, as you can see down there in the corner. This uses a lot of D6s, where that's the kind of the basic shtick and mechanic of it is that you have a giant pool of D6s that you decide how many dice you need to roll out of, and then some of those dice will show you successes, and if you roll enough successes, then you complete your action, your move, right? I am also introducing individual characters using my Blossom system. I've already discussed the Blossom system because I've used it in several other games in the past, so I'm not going to go into the details here, but just suffice it to say that these characters called officials are utilizing my Blossom system that does not utilize the big giant pile of D6s, and instead these would be utilizing a D10, a D6, or a D10, a D8, or a D6, depending upon the level of skill that your character would have in this particular action, which I'm calling tasks. And then and again, these are for when you're having to potentially roleplay out individual one-on-one situations, like an individual negotiation between this character, let's say the like whoever this character is, let's say like the president or the spokesperson for the fleet, right? And then this other person who is outside, who's a narrator character, right? You know, a non-player character who, let's say, is the president of a stellar nation, right? You're doing a negotiation. That would be a situation where the banner couldn't really necessarily help all that much. Or let's look at your stereotypical sort of James Kirk actions that you might see on an away mission in Star Trek, right? Where James Kirk and Spock and a couple other characters from the ship all beam down. They're doing individual things on the ground. Yes, the ship sometimes can sort of interfere or do certain things that might help out, in which case you might be doing a banner roll, a move for your banner to do certain actions, but a lot of that activity is going to be done by individual characters. But those things are going to be more like sort of side quests in comparison to the normal stuff that you'll be doing in Bannerships of the 10,000 Stars, which is the actual fleet action. Some things that I have changed since the last video is I have incorporated another element that will assist in this in the actions that need to take place with the sort of player characters, the actual like characters, the officials I'm calling them, and that is contested tasks. So whenever a fleet is doing an action, I'm calling it a move. Whenever a banner is doing an action, I'm calling it a move. And whenever a character, a official, is doing an action, I'm calling it a task. So that's just to clarify which set of dice you should be using for the players. But anyway, contested tasks, this is an element that actually I'm incorporating from an SRD that was created called C4, which was used by Cesar Cabalque in his most recent game, Nexalis. I actually specifically discussed the fact that they had contest roles when I did my review for their game. Definitely check it out up there somewhere. If you haven't watched that video yet, it's a pretty quick and simple review. Anyway, the basic idea is that contested roles, contested tasks, roles, however you want to call it, are basically when you have two characters in direct conflict with one another. So basically what is happening is, and this is for like contests, debates, negotiations, competitions, playing a game of chess, I don't know. It could be lots of things. Basically each of the two characters will roll dice, and I built a contest tracker here into the side of the character sheet. Basically one character will win if the tracker goes all the way over to their side. The other character will win if the tracker goes all the way to that side. And so basically they're just rolling against each other, comparing the two rolls against each other, and then subtracting out the difference. And that's how far it moves one way or the other. So for example, if one character rolls a 6, the other character rolls a 4, that's 2. So the tracker would go 1, 2 towards whichever character had rolled the larger number. Do that, like, let's say 4 times. After the 4th time, if there is no clear winner, then whoever has the tracker closest to their end of the tracking line wins. And if it's still sitting in the middle for some reason, then you just do it one more time, or maybe you just decide that, okay, this is just going to come out as a stalemate. We're locked in a stalemate. There's no way anybody could win, right? Like maybe you're playing chess and you're down to just the 2 kings, and they're just chasing each other around the board. There's nothing you can really do. It's essentially a draw. So that's an element that I am introducing that I had not discussed previously. This kind of dips into that idea of that even if you're most of the way done through making a game, you should still keep an eye out for new ideas. Because you might come across something that solves a problem, or you might come across something that is actually a simpler or ultimately better way of potentially solving an issue that you have in your game that you have a mechanic for, but it's not quite working or it doesn't quite fit. you should still be open to the idea of making modifications sometimes, even if, admittedly, in the end, that ends up putting more work for you. In this case, it was a relatively simple addition because I did not yet have a mechanic on how to address that, and I was still thinking about how to best address it. And then I read Nexalis for the video, and I was like, yes, this will work. I will take this, right? This is awesome. The one last thing I wanted to kind of discuss today is you will notice the layout I have here. The program I am actually using for layout here is actually Apple Pages. You do not necessarily need to get super duper fancy when it comes to doing your own layout. Yes, it's nice if you have things like Affinity or Adobe Publisher or whatever, but there are ways that you can get around doing things, whether it's using Google Docs, Pages, maybe even one of the PowerPoint or PowerPoint-like programs, like let's say Google Slides. Those are all definitely options that you can utilize, and it is definitely really useful if you are on a budget. Or don't intend on really ever printing out the game and it's only ever going to live as a PDF. If you're going to print the game out as a PDF, I definitely would recommend using at least something that has some publishing elements in it, like Apple Pages. Apple Pages is set up to do at least some publishing because, I mean, you can put things directly up to the Apple Store, the Apple Bookstore through Pages and stuff like that. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing I want to point out is art. Some genres are really easy to find available art for. Like when I created, let's say my game Hypaethros, it was really easy to find art. Or when I was making my game Run Villain Run, it was really easy to find art because they each took place in time periods. Well, I mean, Hypaethros is a time travel game, so I could pull in art from everywhere. Run Villain Run is a medieval game. Almost all actual medieval era art is public domain just because it was made so long ago, right? When I made Saguk Roleplay and Joseon, a lot of the art I used that I didn't make myself, again, was primarily public domain because, again, we're talking about photographs and art that was made 100, 200, 300 years ago. Obviously, sci-fi, that's not so easy. There is still stuff out there. The picture that you see there on the middle of the screen, the actual spaceship itself, that is actually stock art that I purchased off of DriveThruRPG. There are a number of people who sell stock art on DriveThruRPG. You do need to be a little careful to look carefully at the people you're pulling art for, because some of them, if you have a problem with using AI generated art, or other similar methods that are have questionable ethical and copyright elements. So there's that. You do need to be careful of that, but they are definitely different sources and things out there, this being one of them. There are also different websites and programs out there that you can utilize. I'll put some in the links in the description down below, where you can either purchase the right to use stock art as part of a subscription. In this case, we have a bunch of game icons. This is originally a game icon. This is just supposed to be like a space fighter or something. Here again, we have two icons that I combined together. We have like a moon orbiting a planet and a rocket ship just kind of flowing through space. This is literally just a generic shape that I made to look like the sort of blossom shape that I use for this game in Hypaethros underneath each of the page numbers. A lot of the other shapes and things that you see are things that I have found, or just things that are inherent to pages. Like you just put a page shape in there, right? There is definitely different various art elements out there that can definitely help prettify your game without having to break the bank if you don't have budget for exclusive art for you. And of course, there are people out there who will provide you with art at a pretty low cost, to be perfectly honest. It's just that in addition to not necessarily having the budget for it, I also had a time constraint because I need to get this game done in the next 4 days or so. So that's another issue. So yeah, those are just some elements that I kind of wanted to mention that are things that I feel are important for a person who's trying to develop a TTRPG, but didn't necessarily fall into the video that I had made previously. So thank you all for joining me again today. I hope you got at least a little bit out of this ramble, and go out there, make your own games, and be sure to rate your itch purchases. Oh, and don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that YouTubey jazz. That would also I would really appreciate it, and it really helps out the channel. And obviously it means that you'll be able to see other things, like when I start making tutorial videos for this game, when I release it, or of course lots of other games. Thank you, and have a good day. If you would like to show your support for this channel or for the Hessens County blog, in the description down below you will find links to the channel coffee and also the itch store. Please feel free to take a look, and thank you for your support.